everybody, I am doing something called actually finishing things on top of called actually recording videos that are smaller than 1 hour long because my health has really hit the crapper and I had to take a break from recording, and then I had a whole bunch of people go, oh, you're doing like so great at playing all the Vampire Jam games, keep on going, and I'm like, I feel so bad about that now. But anyways, while we are here, let me review the last Hellebore's issue that is currently out, which is issue 6. The same people that made Hellebore also made a special book for this Christmas that is to do with every possible occult destination in England. And I kind of want the book, but at the same time, I really don't have time for it right now because it has been you have no idea how busy it is. Like, this weekend, I've hit record sales for tarot orders on top of having my work split in two in my workplace because 2 different bosses are using me at the same time, which makes it very awkward with time management. Like, it's supposed to be 8 hours, but actually I am probably doing more than 8 hours because it's a little bit here and a little bit there, and heck, today I had a work emergency at 2:40 a.m., which was an absolutely interesting time to receive a message from my boss. I mean, I am not asleep, but that doesn't mean that you should assume that a sane person isn't asleep. A sane person should be asleep. Hellebore's 6th issue, let's actually get to this thing instead of me talking about my life, is called the summoning issue, but in reality, if I called it the devil issue, it would probably go down pretty well. Probably my favorite issue to date might be because it is a Halloween issue, which with the last Halloween issues is just a thing that I seem to enjoy a lot more than the spring issues. The spring issues have both been a bit to me, and also because, hello, demonologist here, that's like my primary working in magic, so this is just a topic that correlates with me very well. What is in it? Well, the first article was Hell is Other Readers, which just talks about how literature tropes explore it's better if things are left unwritten or unread, about how you can corrupt yourself by reading a certain things, or about how some people do not wanna sell specific items to other specific people, as once again, as a literature running theme sort of thing. And I highlighted a couple of entries from here, but bear in mind, I don't highlight anything but magazines, okay? I have some variation books, I'm not highlighting those, but I do highlight magazines because screw you all, this is my issue and forever belongs to me. And if somebody finds it and finds all the scribbles, then that's up to them to decipher what it means. And I mean, it's lines. You're not gonna be doing a lot of deciphering here. So bear in mind, I have highlighted these things like a month ago when I had a bit more time. Highlighted quote, I wanted a book like this, so I took it to write in. It is full of secrets. I have a great many other books of secrets I have written, hidden in a safe place. There are some I shall not put down at all. I must not write down the real names of the days and months which I found out a year ago, nor the way to make the Aklo letters, or the Chan language, or the great beautiful circles, or the Mao games, nor the chief songs. This is a quote from a literature working. Again, I highlighted it because it brings a lot of truth in it. A lot of current occult community will be like, have a grimoire, write shit down and write everything down and collect that info, but some things are better left undisclosed. I am actually writing a book that I will publish and also put up on the internet for free. It's effectively the pinned document on my Twitter that I keep on updating. I have to double check if it's information I can put down or not. Like, every single time. And the intricate workings, nah, you're never getting that. That's going to the grave with me. And that's the way that I like it. On the other hand, there is a quote of Carswell foolishly believes that written curses always work as directed and stay in place. Their literary intentions might translate seamlessly into effect. This is a bit of a funny thing, honestly. If you're making a curse, it has to be very, very directed, and it takes a lot of energy to run. There has been some occultists that put down curses at the start of their books going, if this book is pirated, or if you checked it out of the library for free and you don't pay me money, bad shit's gonna happen to you. And when you're copy pasting that thing and spreading it to a lot of people, it is just so nondescript, and you would need such an amount of energy to run that's just never gonna happen. Like, you're effectively, you got a bathtub full of water, right? And nobody wants to be dunked into a bathtub. You're gonna get very, very wet. But then you package that water into tiny bit of pipettes and shipped it with your book going, hey, if you gotten this work illegally, this pipette will spray a bit of water on you. It's by that point, it's not how it works. Unless, of course, you are never copying your book more than once, and even then that would be so non-direct that, I mean, if it's homemade curse and if it's meant for others to use it, they would kind of need to know how to utilize it, and it kind of would need to speak to them. Your own crafted shit is better, but hey, I am supposed to be reviewing a zine and not be talking to you about my personal occult practices, which, honestly, I don't want to make the magazine that rarely touches on things like in-depth outside of from a scholarly point of view. I don't want to paint it as like this meetup place for the loonies. It's me that's the loony, not the book. The next thing is the Devil's Prayer book, and it talks about how card games were perceived as a way of summoning the devil, which I find it quite intriguing, especially considering that me having these babies over here has caused quite an uproar in my own family, because divination tools are considered evil between my family, especially cards. And guess what I use? Yes, cards. And I'm kind of happy about it, so honestly, screw everybody. Intriguingly, the devil was not burdened by notions of social class, religion, or gender, showing a radical disregard for the staunch norms and limitations of Irish society and ignoring the labels of Catholic, Protestant, and Dissenter to the pursuit of winning souls. William Carleton, Thomas Crofton Croker, William Butler Yeats, and Lady Jane Wilde, some of the earliest collectors of the Irish oral tradition, all feature fables of the devil in their published collections, from which we can infer that all souls have the same value to the dark collector. You know, Satan has always been very much about equal opportunity, and as I say, he has always been very much about equal opportunity. I appreciate that, bro. Honestly, very much appreciated. But yes, there's no reason why your social standing would ever impact the quality of your soul. It's all about what kind of person you are as a person. Nice for Satan to be so progressive and recognize it very early on. But we're talking about entity that's not confined to human space-time, so maybe it shouldn't be surprising. Next up is spinster Satanism, and it's how feminism and Satanism and devil are all very much linked, together with women reclaiming the devil as a positive figure. And I'm like, what is it with us women and the devil? I suppose we just consider horny guys that are badly titled as evil sexy or something. And I suppose the fact that they're pro-equal rights doesn't hurt. At this point, Satan himself appears and helps her become emancipated through a new identity as a witch. This, however, does not entail submission to Satan, nor has it anything to do with embracing evil. Satan is portrayed as an asexual, mild-mannered god in the forest, whose domain nature is contrasted with male-dominated urban civilization. If you ask me, demons are not asexual. Well, they can't physically do anything with you, but they can be quite curvy, which I don't think quite counts as being asexual. But yes, demonolatry is quite empowering, I would say, and for a woman, claiming the identity of a witch is quite empowering as well. Not saying that female witches are the only type of witch, but still, it is a word that used to mean something pretty bad, associated with pretty dark stuff. I still pursue a branch of it that is associated with pretty dark stuff that is actually a lot less dark. You would think that it is. I am now a much better person than I was without all of the dark stuff. It's a very, very weird thing. The things that are typically associated with sin are quite repulsive to me now. So while I do not have a moral code, I am instinctively against a lot of the things that a conservative Christian would be against, but for all the different reasons. I also feel like I know a lot more about how to utilize things that are considered sins and how to indulge in something in moderation without losing my mind over it. So yeah, I suppose this is partly why this speaks to me, because witchcraft was associated with evil, demons are still associated with evil, and yet nothing that I found in those directions has been anything but empowering. So, draw whatever conclusions you like. The fact that this sort of evil was also seen as a symbol of empowerment by some other figures throughout history makes me happy. There is technologies of the sense room, which I believe I highlighted absolutely nothing, and it just speaks about early inventions for taking photos, early Photoshop, and things like that. Not like the exact Photoshop, but hey, photo manipulation has been around for a very, very long time. There's then the article of The House of the Great Beast, which is talking about the manor that belongs to Aleister Crowley, and how currently it's kept as a museum, but it's pretty badly damaged and has been damaged multiple times, and there's talk about them planning on just like selling rubble as souvenirs in order to raise the money to have the building fixed up properly. And honestly, it makes me really, really want to visit, because I wouldn't mind the rock from Aleister Crowley's mansion, even though I honestly really don't like him as a person, and I honestly don't like Thelema as a religion. And for some reason, my Twitter feed is full of female Thelemites. I don't know how that happened, but that has happened. Then we have to land between God and the devil, and I believe this is, forgive me, it has been a month. I literally took a week to read the last article because I do not have time. I should be asleep right now. I really, really should. I want to get up before it's dark. once again, the passages that I highlighted was the fact that women and witchcraft was always just associated as the devils. This stance is the one Aelfric took. In his work, The Auguries about Omens, he claimed that the work and prophecies of witches were solely from the devil. Like their counterpart from Endor, the witches who lived in Eric's time worked harm. Witches, he wrote, still go to crossroads and to heathen burials with their delusive magic and call to the devil, and he comes to them in the likeness of the man who buried there, as if he rose from the dead. And it makes me think whether there's just a long history of women working with demons, or whether Christianity has made it so by writing these kind of proclamations. Because honestly, if I read this kind of proclamation, I would be like, oh wait, I can work with the devil in heathen burials? Oh cool, I should totally go there. But also, unlike right now, where I am making a very open YouTube video, back then this would be death. So, it carried quite a lot more heaviness to it. I've seen one person really complain that witchcraft has become commercialized. I really hang out in a lot of witchcraft Reddits currently. And their complaint was that you can buy a witch kit which includes some sage for burning and a couple of crystals in like their local store. And the top comment was precisely what I was thinking of. Do you prefer they were burning us again instead? Like, please. I don't care if it becomes as accessible as friggin' McDonald's. Sure, on TikTok there's quite a lot of misinformation going around, and that's gonna continue happening, but preferable that everybody has at least, some amount of the craft and it's as acceptable as it is being a Christian or being Jewish, than to have social services banging on my door because they have seen me wearing black. Nobody wants another satanic panic. Please don't ever consider that. You want a I'd rather you commercialize it and put it in store than summon another satanic panic. I want to be left alone. I think that is my point. Next article is The Cunning Man, and it is about how there was this guy who honestly spent a lot of his life begging for, well, survival. But he was known as a witch and as a cunning man, and there's a couple of local legends of him being able to mesmerize animals, and how the whole occult craze around early 1900s drew a lot of attention to this poor man that has been completely dead by this point, and he got elevated into this wonderful mystical figure when in reality he has just been a villager in this little village. I do like, though, how in this story there are people that are very much against witchcraft, and this sentence just stood out to me. It is worth noting that Lefebvre believed witchcraft should be punishable by law. He went on to write occult erotica. Just, It's just, it really reminds me of a lot of men's actions today of, in all of the countries where you can't actually, legally show women unclothed. If those women show themselves unclothed, then every man in the area would be trying to murder them, but at the same time, they're also the top consumers of porn. And it's not males on males that they're looking at, believe me. Dr. D's Ottoman Adventure is the article right afterwards, and it thinks about what would have happened if... I'm just gonna call him Dr. D because, Dr. John D, there we go, that's the full name. If he went to the Muslim side of the world instead of trying to stick to Christianity, because he was trying to summon angels, and it was very apocalyptical because he has gotten some prophecies about the world ending and the world didn't end, and he got very upset about it. But he was trying to perfect the art of Enochian, and Christians kept on getting in the way because witchcraft is bad. Like, he would not get funding for that, and Muslims at that point were like, yep, spirituality is cool with us, occult is cool, and especially considering that you're trying to speak with angels, bro, that's completely fine. Some of the statements in here just like really stand out because of how crazy it is to think about this. For many 16th century observers, Christian or Muslim, the end times were clearly at hand, so the practice of magic boomed throughout Islamdom and Christendom alike as a means of controlling history. A sworn Christian cosmopolite, variously Catholic and Protestant, but dedicated to the destruction of the Great Turk as Antichrist, John Dee emblematized the spirit of anti-Ottoman apocalyptic magic. Middle Ages for magic just comes to my head sometimes because these people, we don't like to think about it that way, but a lot of humans are very much recognized throughout a lot of history. Like, they are. There's something that happened around 1900s that made everybody right moving forward as we are the educated peoples, and look at these savages of our past and similar things, but they very much weren't. Like, heck, inscriptions that we find in caves sometimes are just so relatable on a human level, from people's humor level. We like to think that we changed, but we really haven't. If you went back down to the 2nd century, sure, technology would be a lot more primitive, and what you do would be different, and how much of things you do by hand would be different, but you would find common topics with your neighbors, and you would find their humor to be acceptable, and you would understand what it means. If you just integrated into a period in the past, humans as on the people level, we haven't actually changed all that much. So all of that superiority complex of we are the learned, the logical people, and look at the savages in our past just really doesn't fly with me. So hearing completely outlandish statements such as apocalyptic magic against the Turks always really tickles me in the right way of I don't want to live in that period, because as a woman I would have been partaking in none of it, especially considering how badly Christians were looking down upon witches, and even male mystics have a lot of issues, but there's just something about the statement of apocalyptic magic, especially when you're like Antichrist and anti-Turk, and it's like, it sounds like one of our conspiracy theories, but it is not. It's Middle Ages or magic, and I would have loved to be there for all of this ridiculousness, and I would have been a very enthusiastic participant, except that nobody would have allowed me to because I am a woman. And the last article is about Guy Fawkes, which honestly I thought was pretty weird considering that it has nothing to do with the occult. So we get to the last statement of, though the power of repetition, what was once a political performance, became something much more of a primal, a ritual performance. And ritual, as we know, can be imbued with virtually any significance whatsoever. The original meaning of Guy Fawkes Night became subordinated to performance itself, and in the process multiple meanings emerged. There is more than meets the eye to Bonfire Night. There is an ambiguity to the old rhyme of remember, remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. For I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. The rhyme exhorts us to remember, and only to remember, What exactly we're remembering in the wildly dancing flames of Bonfire Night is unimportant compared to the bold instruction to remember. And honestly, I wish more of the history was written this way. A lot of what we have in the media, a lot of what we have in people's conversations, it's always about taking sides. It got to a point where I will now go in to have conversations with people that hate my guts from the get-go. Or if they come in and be very hostile to me, and I will respond very nicely to them, because honestly, it's not necessarily their fault that they see me the way that they do. It's the us versus them mentality, and if they have it, there's no reason for me to have it and to be the them in the us versus them. I may as well just give them the straight answers, and if they don't like what I'm answering, then, well, what can I do about it? That is not their way, that is not the path. This is not to say that you should engage in conversation with anyone that you deem to be dangerous, nor would I do that on the street, and I'm mostly just doing that in comment sections when people mostly come into the spaces that I hang out in. I am not seeking somebody's church or trying to convert Christians into demon worshippers. That would be very, very weird. But if somebody comes into the demonolatry sub and goes, why do you all worshipping demons in here when this is quite evil and taboo? Well, you know what? Let's sit down and have a conversation, bro. You came into my space. We may as well talk about it. So, that's that. Honestly, my favorite issue so far. I know that they're gonna release like twice yearly. They're gonna continue doing that outside of the Christmas book, which I don't have right now because I don't have time to read it. I have plenty of other books that are still waiting to be read by me, and honestly, reading just fell into the background, but it's very good. It might just be the fact that the theme speaks to me this much, but it is very good. If you want to purchase it, the link is in the description down below. I always propose that we support small businesses. I'm not exactly the type of person to push consumerism. I review and recommend very few things, and I am not a complete fan when people start conflating spirituality community with capitalism, but this is not exactly spirituality. This is more of themed events looked from a fairly educated perspective, and I make it sound a lot more occult than it actually is, because I am having an occult practitioner's point of view of this little nice magazine. They're trying to not look like crazy witches, so I get to be the crazy witch that probably presents the whole thing completely wrong to you. But you see, this is one crazy witch that really likes this. So, thank you for people for making the Hellebore magazine, because I actually realized that I haven't read a magazine since I was about 10 years old until this year. And this year I found this. And honestly, I would love to see a lot more of this. I would love to see a lot more of little independent occult zines, because it is very entertaining and is definitely up my alley as something that I enjoy reading. So, thank you for watching. I'm gonna catch a nap right now, for I'm actually planning to be up before the sun is down. So, night night.